All right. Thanks. Hi. How are you? Welcome to the Lady Empress Show. I am so glad that you tuned in, that you checked into our show on today. I have with me a very special guest. Her name is Briana Weatherspoon. And if anyone knows anything about me, I love and I enjoy yoga. I've been interested in yoga and I started the practice in 2013. And I just find my way into somebody's yoga class. And I have been blessed to meet this beautiful young lady who is a wonderful yoga instructor. I have had the opportunity to be in her class at I don't know, about 10 classes so far, maybe more. I don't know. We lost count, but I faithfully make it to this class every single week. And I truly enjoy the flavor, the atmosphere, the vibe. And she allowed me to sit with her for a brief moment, take a time out of her busy schedule because she does 1,000 things. Okay. And we're just going to talk about the gift and the anointing of yoga because it was given to her by God to do this, to be a blessing. And this she has been doing. So welcome to the Lady Empress Show. You and I both got our nerves going. We nervous, y'all. We nervous. It's all right. We nervous. Okay. But we keep telling ourselves we're just gonna talk, we're just gonna relax and have a chat. Okay. So Ms. Weather's going to tell us a little bit about yourself. We're just putting again the show knowing about who you truly are.
Okay. So my name is Briana Weatherspoon. I live here in Pittsburgh. I have been on a yoga journey teaching, going on about 2 years now. Outside of teaching yoga, I'm also a middle school science teacher in Pittsburgh Public Schools, which was the reason why I led more towards yoga due to a high stressful job and just different things I've seen within the school.
Okay. So when did you develop an interest in the practice of yoga?
So I've always, it began just as like a stretching. So I've always been a person who likes to do active things, whether it's running, walking, being outside, hiking. And then I got into weightlifting. And when I got into weightlifting, my muscles felt different. And I had to start stretching into it. And then I remember one day, stretching. And during my stretch, I got in a child's pose and I just started crying. And didn't know where it came from. It was just one of those things like, I just feel like I'm down here. I need to pray about it. So I started stretching, adding on more of the prayer. And then, having more of a meditation it turned into, and then my stretch turned into, okay, before I go to sleep tonight, I want to stretch. I want to turn my lights down, have my candle. And it started to slowly form into this. And then, I was speaking to a friend one day, like, oh, that's like yoga. I'm like, I'm just stretching, meditating. And they were like, that was my time with God. And they were like, well, that's kind of like yoga. And I started, researching yoga and getting into it. So then, it just kind of developed. And then I found a program online that was Breathe for Change, was a program I got it through. And it was all about connecting your mind and your body and implementing into the school. And since I was a teacher, I saw that the connection between school and yoga was interesting. And I signed up and I went through the program.
Okay. So how would you define yoga?
So to me, everyone has their own thing. Yoga mainly is that connection between your mind, your body, and your spirit, and aligning them in a way that you are aware of what's happening in all of them. So sometimes, your mind is off. When you begin to stretch your body and become involved with your body, you kind of know, where is my anxiousness coming from? Where are these feelings coming from? Where am I tight at? And things like that. And it kind of aligns, and then it calms your spirit. I mean, like I said, I pray throughout my yoga practice on a regular basis. So then I bring that spirituality into it.
Okay. It's so funny you say that because in somatic psychology, they talk about, or they hone in on, more so psychotherapy, about how our body holds trauma.
Yes.
Yes. And so I noticed that when I do yoga, if I'm going through something, I feel better afterwards.
Yes.
I got some type of release from it. And I'm like, wow, I just feel better. I feel more active. I feel more alive. And when I don't do yoga, I find myself, I have more of a tendency to be sad. Like I miss something. I'm missing something. You know, like I haven't been able to, you know, really get in the gym like I wanted to. I didn't miss yoga. We're not doing that. We're not missing yoga.
No.
But I had to miss gym for a couple of weeks, you know what I mean, doing the workout that I used to do. But I noticed that there's a change, a difference between when I'm active and when I'm not active in regards to my mind, body, spirit connection.
Yes. So in that connection, so even when you're stressed, you feel like some people get stressed and you like feeling your shoulders and your back hurts. And you're like, what is going on? Like I felt stressed. And your body holds a lot more than what we think it is. Your body's already connected spiritually. But then me being my faith, God created our bodies. Like, you know, he is within us. He gave us a soul within it. So if your soul, you know, is stretching or something's uncomfortable, it's going to show in a way that it is. So like, I know I personally, I've done yoga before when I felt like, you know, my hips are tight and I'm down here and I'm doing child's pose, or one time I did puppy, one time I just laid on my back and I just, you know, did laying bound angle, but these different things really opened my hips up and I just started crying. And it was like, sometimes it was like you needed that release, but I also think like as I'm laying there, my mind is going, I'm praying, I'm talking to God, and it's like this release is actually happening as well. So your body and all that is very much connected. They always say mind, like your mind over matter, because your mind is a very strong thing. It can controlling your mind, or having control over your mind, can change your life, your perspective, just the way you view things and the way that you do things. Your mind has that power over it. So I feel like in my yoga practice, that connected to my spiritual and my body is the reason that I can become aligned in that.
Do you consider yoga to be religious?
The origin of yoga is spiritual. When I hear religious and spiritual, I do have the two different views on that. So I personally would not consider myself a religious person, but I would consider myself a spiritual person. And what I mean by that is I feel like religion has a lot of rules, guidelines, and boundaries. Some man-made, some not. I feel like sometimes my spiritual journey with God is my relationship strictly is, how do I get closer to God? Do I read the Bible? Yes. Do I trust that when I pray and I'm guiding? Yes. Do I, you know, ask God to change my mindset and think like him, make decisions in his way? Yes. Do I go to church every Sunday? No. Do I allow myself grace sometimes to fall and not beat myself? I feel like in religion sometimes it's like, you know, you have to walk this path, and if you don't, it's like, oh, you're a sinner and you're bad and you're this and you're that. And I feel like in my spiritual walk with God, I give myself grace, and I know God's giving me grace as well, that like trust that he has me and he's guiding me. And if I fall short, I'm still his child, and he's going to love me regardless. He's going to pick me up and say it. So that almost guilt that I feel like sometimes comes with religion is no longer there. I feel like I can freely walk with him and figure this thing out, and whatever that may look like. Because I feel like everyone's walk with God is different. And I feel like the spirituality allows me to do that. So do I think yoga is more of like a spiritual journey, because it's like always, like I say all the time, like it's not the perfect pose, it's not the perfect this. It's just you really becoming aware of your feelings. That triggered me, how it triggered me. How do I hold that in my body? How can I release that from my body? How am I reacting to it? It's just that alignment. Like, this made my soul feel funny. This made my soul uncomfortable. How can I settle my soul? And sometimes it is through that stretching you said, and that release. It's just listening to yourself, listening to your body. And if you're a follower of God and you're a spiritual person, that usually would, to me, brings you closer to God, because I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at my soul, trying to figure out why I feel this way. I'm looking deeper at my relationship with God.
Right. Wonderful. So yeah, and I love the way that you separated the two, spirituality versus religion. You know, because I feel like religion can really taint the personal relationship, because and you mentioned something about a journey. You know, we're journeying. We're coming from, you know, imperfection, and we're journeying to perfection, even though we came from perfection, you know, but that's a process. It's not impossible.
Yes.
So, and I think that's the beauty of the way that you do conduct your courses. And I know that when you have the classes, you say, okay, if you can do it, great. If not, then don't worry about it. Do what you can do. You know, if you can hit this pose, great. I'm giving you other options. You give us different options. until we're able to make it to that higher way of practice. I believe it's the eagle pose.
Yes.
That one, where we're trying to get it, and some of us are able, and some of them we're like, okay, but that grace. Like, okay, if you don't get it like I do, that doesn't mean that you're bad, you're horrible. This is your process. Have fun with the journey. Fall in love with it, because if it's like, oh, you got to be perfect right here today, and you're not perfect, that tempts somebody to give up.
Yes, and I feel like I always say, like, this is journey. It's the freedom in that, and I feel like we don't have a lot of freedom sometimes in the world that we live in. And I feel like on the yoga mat it's free, and it's like, how does your body feel? Do what your body feels. Like, the pose doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes you might say, I don't want to do that pose right now. Maybe I just want to go in a child's pose. I need to lay. But you have that freedom to do that, and that once again is bring that awareness of, where is my body at? Where is my mind at? I walked in sometimes like, we were going to really flow today, but I think we're just going to lay here today because my mind and my body needs to lay. But just becoming aware of that, because I feel like a lot of us don't. And that's when we push ourselves and we become burnt out, or wonder why we have all these ailments and we're stressed and our neck hurts, our back hurts. And it's like, because you're not listening to your body. Your body's telling you to rest. You're not listening. Your body's telling you that makes it feel uncomfortable. It's not. Sometimes it's emotionally draining, and you're not hearing that's emotionally draining. So you're at a job sometimes, and you're like, I'm so fatigued. Why? You are emotionally drained, and you're not listening to your body. You keep putting yourself in the same situation over and over again. So it's really just, to me, making this connection and hearing what your body is saying to you. And sometimes, it's not even just your body. Sometimes that's your spirit telling you, like, I don't feel comfortable here. This isn't right. But we're not listening to it. And then we have all these other things that we wonder why this is happening, because we're not listening. So sometimes, people say meditation and stuff is, depending on, spiritual reality. Some people agree or disagree with it, but it's just sitting in the calmness. It's sitting in that space where you are, and I always say that space between where me and God are together, and allowing Him just to speak and allowing to shut the world out. It's not the world, it's just me and you right now. I'm sitting here in this space and I'm listening, and I'm listening to my soul. I'm listening, I'm feeling my body, and usually I can pray and God can enter that space with me. And then it's like, okay, now I'm calm and I can hear Him. But sometimes you have to shut the world out. Sometimes yoga does that for me. Just allows me to shut the world out and have that freedom.
Right. One thing I love definitely about yoga, especially, it's something about doing it outside too.
Yes. Feeling the grass.
Hearing the birds, just in the air, the gentleness and the calmness of the air. How it does allow us to be in that oneness with God.
Yes.
That oneness connection, just to hear what He has to say. And I think being attentive to our body, listening to those moments you talked about. Why are you uncomfortable in this space? Why? And you can tell before you get ready to go into that space. Your body's like, I don't want to do that. I don't like that. I'm not interested in that.
Yes.
And we're still forcing our spirits to be somewhere where it's not comfortable, instead of, because your spirit is, it's our protection.
Yes.
It's saying that's not good for you, that's not safe for you. You're looking at it on the surface, but on a deeper level, it's not where you're supposed to be.
Yes. We use it when people say, that subconscious, that gut feeling. People say they love to call something a gut feeling. I feel like that's intuition, and that's your spirit. And recognizing that's your spirit. It's not going here, I get a headache. As soon as you walk in the door, you get a headache. You don't think that's a sign for anything, just that, like listening to your body, listening to your spirit. And I feel like that is the meaning of yoga. To me, it's just listening and being aware of that. But sometimes yoga causes you to slow down. It causes you to, I'll say check in with your breath. Well, we know long, deep breaths means I feel safe. And these short panting, like, if you're doing that, why are we doing that in this space? Something's making you feel uncomfortable. Something's making you feel, if you didn't just run a flight of stairs, exactly. Why are we panting when you come in the door? Like, what? Something's agitating you or irritating your spirit, and just being aware of those different things.
Would you say that yoga, we probably will agree that will bring healing to somebody I'm going to turn this corner, deed that maybe something medical can't solve?
So I will say I do believe in doctors and stuff like that, but I
That's
do
why I said
feel
it's a
like,
bold
yes,
statement.
but I do feel like there's some things that a doctor can't fix, because I feel like some issues and some problems are not a physical problem. And you know, you might go to a doctor and the doctor say that you're stressed, and the stress is now internalizing and it's turning into, you got this knot in the back of your head you can't get rid of, or you're getting these constant headaches, you're getting this and that. They can't fix that. You know, like, why are you so stressed and uncomfortable? They can't give you a pill for that. They can give you something to treat the headache. They can give you something to treat this, but the actual core, the actual reason of why it's happening, they cannot treat. So if a doctor cannot treat it, therefore it's something that's outside of their realm of what they practice. So to me, outside of man is God.
Right.
So if man can't figure this out or can't solve this, it must not be a man issue. And that's the way I feel. It must be something more. It has to be a spiritual issue. And when we get into spiritual, then God has to play a part, because in my life, anything outside of man is God. And I feel like yoga for me, I won't even say sometimes, yoga for me allows me to get in that space where I can have my spirituality and talk to God outside of man. Because like I said, man can only do but so much.
That's true.
And I trust that they can. If I break a bone, I'm not going to go home and just pray about it. I'm going to go to the doctors. I'm going to pray that God guides his hand. But I'm going to go to the doctors and let them set it and cast it up, because that's his job. Like, that's what he's here for. But if I have a broken heart, no doctor can help me with a broken heart. You know what I mean? If I'm overly stressed, like I said, they can give me something for what's causing it, but you can't help me stress. Like, what do I have to do in my life to remove this? You know, there's certain things that just, they can't do. And to me, yoga fills that for me.
Wow, that's intense. Because you said something. There's some things that you made it, or you took it to a holistic place, in a sense of, you don't exclude, definitely don't exclude God, because he's our origin. That's where we came from.
Yes.
We're created in the image and likeness of love, peace, all healing, all the things. He created us to do his work here through doctors. And yes, there's some medicines and some things that can help, but there's some things that it just can't.
It can't.
You know, and it's not one without the other, but understanding man goes to a certain level, and that's all he can do.
Yes.
You know, there's certain things that only God can do.
Yes.
You know, and bringing yoga and practicing yoga and being able to connect the mind, body, spirit, understand that every area has its part to play in our well-being.
Yes.
As God ordained it to be. So that's one of the things that we definitely need to know and understand, because when I started doing yoga, I was discouraged from it after a little while, and people were calling it, what do I want to say, idol worship.
Yes.
Have you heard that before?
I have.
Okay.
So it depends. So yoga, when it came to the Western, I'll say, over here, and we've taken this deep practice, I feel like some of us have taken parts of it, not the entire practice as a whole. So if you look at the origin of yoga and in India, and you know, the origin of it, what we have brought from it, of course, like, no, I won't say no offense, but like with everything else, we pick and choose what we want. We take what we think is ours, right? And we bring it up and say, oh, now we're yoga. And when you first envision yoga, you envision a certain type of person doing yoga, I would say. There's a very generalization with it. So, and sometimes it is just a stretch, okay? And there's nothing more to it. And then, so I feel like some people took that then and turned it into, now some people bring the incense and the candles into it. And, you know, they're praying to the universe. You know, you have other people and they're praying to God with it. So I feel like it's just one of those things that everybody took a piece of it and adjusted it for them.
Right.
But we know in society there could be 5 different things, but there's one that's always loud, the loudest one. And I feel like right now the one that a lot of people see, or the two that people see, is either they see the one, you know, the certain personality with the yoga pants and the Stanley cup, and we're just going to do yoga. It's like something fun to do. Go stretch real quick, right? Before you go to happy hour or something. And then you have the other one where you see people doing yoga and you see the incense and the candles and the smoke around them. And it seems like those are the only two that are loud and really have representation in society. So they say, as soon as you light a candle or as soon as you do this, it's you're idolizing something else. What I believe is when you do yoga, it's all about your intention. If I walk in this room with my intention just to get a good stretch, that's what I'm going to get from it. If I walk in this room with my intention is to get closer to the universe or have that conversation, that's what's going to happen. I go into my yoga with a prayer and with God. So that is my intention. So when I come to prayer hands or when I do certain poses and I'm opening my chest up and I'm looking up, I'm looking to God. And that is my intention. And throughout my entire practice, he's at the forefront of my head. So if I'm idolizing anything, I'm idolizing, in my opinion, who I'm supposed to idolize, which is God. So I think that speaks to people's intention, because I do believe that even with the candles and the incense and stuff, if we want to get into the Bible, there was plenty of sacrifices in the Bible where they lit their incense and they, and they prayed in front of that on their knees and stuff. So we have moved away, I would say, from the sacrifices and the rituals that were there, but they were there for a reason. And if I need to light a lavender candle to calm my soul down a little bit so that I walk into this space a little calm, I can actually hear what God's saying to me. Because I don't want to walk in anxious and angry and I block out what he's saying. I'm going to light my candle. But my intention as I light this candle is to get close to God. So that's how I feel about yoga. So when people say the thing like that's demonic and that's this, you're projecting your mindset, because I know who I'm praying to. I know what I'm going into. I don't. And who are we to judge? And that's how I feel. I feel like yoga is all about your intention. What are you going into? What do you want to get out of that? And that's what guides it.
And I backed up and I said, well, at the time, before I know what I know now, I said, well, let me back up and let me leave it alone, because I don't want to go against Jesus, you know what I mean, with with what I'm doing. But I said, but I'm not, when I do it, I'm saying, thank you, Jesus, glory be to God. And I'm thinking about him and I'm worshiping him. And when I'm praying, I'm in child pose, it's all about him. So I don't see how I'm doing idol worship with this, So I had to back up, even get counseling, to find out. I'm like, well, why does this make me feel so good? Why do I feel so free after I'm done doing it? Why do I feel so much better? How is that? I don't understand. So he was able to clarify for me that wasn't him. That was other people. And, people are going to have something to say with what it is that you're doing, no matter what. You know what I mean? You're always going to have the antithesis of Jesus, you know what I mean, in regards to anything. He'll say one thing and here comes somebody else with something else, especially if it's making you feel good. And it has something to do with the mind, body, spirit connection. So now, like you, I go in and I have my intention. I love aromatherapy. I'm an aromatherapy. It's all over me now. That's my jazz. Just like yoga and massage. And I have I have an oil burner now, but I've had a diffuser, like diffuser that you bring to class. And it is something about the sense. It's something natural that he put here in the earth for us to enjoy, that has healing properties to it, and to inspire some of these things, calm. And sometimes we need to be invigorated. Some things, doing various things that we need. So I'm glad that we did talk about clarifying the fact that it's not idolatry, but we're zooming in on the heart of the individual, the heart of the practitioner. Some people go in there, they have their different gods that they worship. Some people don't want nothing to do with Jesus.
They just want to stretch.
They're stretching, or they're into Buddha, or they're into whoever they, like you said, no judgment, whoever you serve. It's who you go in and who you're focusing on. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that you cleared that up for us. I think I have one more question for you that I think we're going to bring it to a close. Let me see. I have a bunch of them because some of them you tapped into. Do you believe that that yoga can help someone who's struggling with an addiction in any way, shape, or form? Or do you think it needs to go a little bit deeper than yoga?
I feel like it could. When I think of yoga, I do think of breath work and meditation all in one. So I won't say that it could cure addiction, but I do think, once again, being able to calm your mind and have a conversation with God in that space and slowing down could help
Okay.
in having that. So what I help pray through it, I would say, but I think it would have to be in addition to, but once again, I don't know a lot about addiction. That's not my expertise.
Okay.
But I do believe, once again, that just slowing your mind down and looking around and praying and having that time with God, allowing him to speak to you, I feel like it could help you get through it.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it, I don't think that it could cure it, but I do think it may be able to help if there's other things in place that you're also doing. But you know, sometimes you have that moment where it's like, I'm weak. And I need it at this moment. And we always know God gives you what you need at that moment if you ask for it. So if you were to stop and pray for strength, I completely believe that God will give you the strength. But do I think you need to have other things in place? Like a support system. Sometimes you might need somebody to actually hold your hand. You might need someone that you can actually call right away and come over or do this and do that. I think all of that is important. But in addition to that, I believe it could help, yes.
Okay. So how would you say personally yoga has benefited your life?
I'm a very anxious person at heart. I'm an overthinker. I'm an extremely emotional person. Oh my goodness. Every emotion you think of, I have, even the ones in between. Okay. And I feel like sometimes I'm a person who I'll wake up and say, I feel off. And I'll call my friends, like, what? I don't know. I just don't feel right. And I say it a lot, and I'm like, I don't know, it's just off. I just feel like blah today, like something this. And I feel like yoga has allowed me to, when I feel like that, to sit in those moments and calm my mind down and think about it. So it's helped me try to name my emotions and then also try to say, okay, so why do I think I woke up like that? What happened yesterday? What did I go to sleep on? What was my dream like? To try to figure out my triggers so I can see how next time. I also feel like it allows me sometimes that I need that good cry, you know, to get through it, or that release of my body. I also feel like I have brought it to school. So as a teacher, some of my kids now will come to me like, Miss Wells, we have to breathe. Like, we have to breathe. Because I'm about to snap. Okay, let's breathe. And the one time we were breathing, I'll never forget, it was in the morning and they came in, it was like 2 or 3, like, we have to breathe because of and we all held hands and we were breathing, and one just started praying. And I was just like, ooh, I wasn't expecting it to turn into a prayer, but the fact that they were able to, in that space, were breathing, all of a sudden they just started praying. It made me feel like, in that sense, I feel like the benefit was for the kids. So I see it changing in some of my students in recognizing, like, they said this, I feel myself getting anxious. I feel like myself getting mad. I came to you. I didn't hit them. I promise you I didn't hit them, but I walked out and I came to you so we can discuss this, or can we talk about this? Or I have some of my kids, I have a yoga club, they have journals. They'll come in, I need my journal. Right now, I need my journal, and they have to release it or they have to let it go. So I feel like it also affected my life and just how it affects my students. I feel a lot of stuff that happens in schools are impulsive, and it's because we don't always recognize emotions. Well, they said this to me, so I said this. When they said that, it awakened something in you. It triggered something. Why? What was your past? Why did it trigger it? How did you know? And just understanding that. And that's why I teach in my yoga club, is just not only recognizing the feeling, but what is the antecedent, what happened before and stuff. Okay, now what is this consequence of this? You know what I mean? They said this, I felt this way. The consequence, I want to hit them. The consequence, I want to do this. And being able to recognize that, go through that. And then what happens when you get there? So it did happen. Somebody did hit a trigger. What do you do next? I breathe. I take a moment. I go sit in the corner. I do this. So sometimes it's not always the stretch of the body, because we're in a school, that's not always possible. But sometimes just that connection of the mind and the body and that spirit. My spirit's unsettled. I'm angry. Now I need a moment and recognizing that. So I feel like that's the benefit I see within the school. So then it benefits me as a person because I feel like I'm giving you something more. I mean, of course I can teach you science, the rock cycle, but like,
right.
You get to take something else away from it.
Exactly, on a deeper level.
Yes.
And it's something that we could see ourselves as this, basically a white canvas. And then these, as you say, triggers, right? Or we hear triggers, are these little dark blemishes that somehow attach itself to the white canvas that we came in here to be. And being able to tune into ourselves and say, wait a minute, there's something right there that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Which we would call body mapping.
Okay.
Like in somatic psychology, you can say, wait a minute, something's here that's not right. What is that? Why is that there? And to be real with it.
Yes.
Sit there and be honest. This is this. And it's something, and it could be something so simple, so basic that need to be dealt with on a deeper level that we can breathe out. So I love the way that you bring them in. It might not necessarily be the stretch like you said, but just stop, take a moment, breathe, meditate, go in and deal with that. And not everybody's comfortable going in there because I call it grave digging.
Yes.
I call it grave digging. If you're going to go grave digging, you better know what to do, what's coming up out that grave.
And that's the thing.
How can you fill that hole? Don't mess with it. You don't.
If you can. And I think I feel like that also plays into the whole accountability thing. I feel like that grave digging is a lot because you don't know what's in there and what's coming out and what you are holding, what's in this grave. You go grave digging, you don't even realize what's in it. It goes deeper than 6 feet sometimes. You got to keep going. And that's one thing. And I feel like that's what we need to do, but it's hard. It's so hard to not only recognize it, but then now that you recognize it, you have to deal with it. It's, one of my things I really think stop growth is when people say, I'm just like this. It doesn't make it okay. I get it. You've been like that. This always have been your response, but it doesn't make it a correct response. It doesn't make it a right response. It's just something you've always done. And I feel like separating that. Just because you already done doesn't make it right. If you always say 2 + 2 = 3, and you're gonna keep saying, I've always thought that, but it's not right. That 2 + 2 = 4. So when are you going to realize that and make it or readjust so that you get to 2 + 2 = 4?
And I think people would arrive to that decision because I'm sure they made an attempt, but they didn't know how to come out of that.
And that's the thing.
And they just said, that's it. This is just how I am because I can't get out. Instead of saying, I just can't seem to get out of here. And I think we just don't know how to say that.
Yes.
God's taking me through I'm being broken in this season. And I've been being broken a lot. And it's funny you said that. He's taken me out of, because there's a certain language that I've allowed myself to believe. And he's reminding me of the power he's given me. Like you've accepted this system and this way of moving and thinking, believing and feeling for so long that subconsciously you're resting in this, but I've given you power over that.
Yes.
So stop telling yourself that this is how you are and this is what it's always going to be, in allowing something to be above you that's really beneath you.
Yes.
And that's a challenge. And I'm like, oh my God. And he literally had to rip me through one of his prophets. Like, you can't settle for this.
No.
Stop telling me. How you want to tell God, all powerful, all knowing God, I can't when I'm inside of you.
Yes.
So I'm going through that right now. It's so funny you talk about that because that's me. I can sit here and say, I can't get out of this. I can't do better than this. No, that's a lie. I can. I just have to believe it and I have to fight. I'm going to say, with the grave digger, I'm going the opposite direction from what I've settled for and be all of who he created me to be. And that within itself is a process, but this jazz about you can't, not when you claim to be.
Not when you claim to be a child of God.
Exactly.
And he rests inside
He's
of you.
Not weak.
You saying,
I
can't. No. He's not weak, and he might want you to learn the lesson, but then you learn it and you keep it moving. We don't get stuck in that. I feel like a lot of us get stuck there. I feel like a lot of us get stuck in that moment, and we don't know how to come out of it, like you said. And I feel like that's why I feel like that's a perfect time then to incorporate yoga, because it's like, I can't get out of this, God. I can't. And it's like, well, we keep trying to I can't get out, I can't get out, I can't get out. And it's like, okay, let me stop. And it's like, you stretch and lean into that part of you that hurts, or you meditate into it, and then you slow down. You really allow God to come in and speak to you.
Right.
But some of us are still just keep digging, trying. But it's like, clearly this is not something you can do on your own.
You need help.
You need help. And sometimes the only help you can get, or you need, is him. He does that on purpose. He wants to know. He wants you to know you can only get this hope from me. He does that. Right. And you have to laugh sometimes. Like, I see you. You thought this was funny. I'm hurting.
This hurts.
But I see it. And I feel like I'm in a moment in my life right now where I'm just so anxious. It's like I'm just waiting for something to break or something to shake. I don't know what direction where it's coming from, but I feel it that something's about to. But what is that? And it's just like, now, okay, God, what is it? What
You're
is
not
it?
alone.
Some stuff, and I just, you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm like waiting for it to shake. I'm waiting for it to break. I'm waiting because I feel like I'm getting anxious from all angles. So it's like, I don't know what angle,
because it's everywhere. If I can help you with that, you're not the only one. And being that we're so in tune with God, with yoga, with our meditation, with being able to sense what's off, it's not just you. It's probably all that's around you, being the empathetic person that you are. And so with this gift, this anointing that you've been given with yoga, it's going to help. I believe it's going to help so many people to tune into who they are, what's going on, what they're supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to be, as far as God is concerned.
Yeah.
And that'll help one by one heal everybody, heal the atmosphere. You're in the Pittsburgh area and even beyond, probably, and, he's strategically placed us all over the world, for a reason, to help bring forth this healing, because it came from him.
It did. It did.
Everybody ain't gonna say that, but it came from him, so, but it's a gift for us to have that oneness and that connection. I promise it's my last question.
Okay.
Now, do you do one-on-one sessions? Where can we find you besides the YMCA? Do you do one-on-one practices? Are you open to it? Are you open to retreats? Come on, let's talk about yourself.
Yes, I'm open to all of that right now because it is my first year actually teaching. I am only at the Y right now, still getting my foot wet into it. I do have a yoga page on Instagram.
Okay.
Relax and Release Yoga, Mindfulness Plus Body. Okay. So on there, any DMs I have done classes for like universities. They've reached out and I went and did it for like teaching staff. So I'm open to all of those opportunities and getting myself out there. I'm still building my brand. I'm still, practicing my own journey and trying to share with others. But I'm open to one-on-ones. I'm open to small group activities. I'm open to all of that. This summer, I will be reaching into a daycare and working with the kids. They have like different themes throughout the week. So I'm going to come up with like a 30-minute yoga stretch to go with it to help to get their bodies moving and stuff like that. So I'm excited. That's new for me. So I think that's going to be fun with the kids again. So yeah. So once again, my Instagram, Relax and Release Yoga, Mindfulness Plus Body. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to have that information in the description box, so people will be able to reach out to you on it. Now, are you open to virtual on virtual?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so
I
wonderful.
am.
So we'll put that information up there so they know how to find you.
Yes.
Okay.
Come find me.
Yes, come find her. I love her class. I love the vibe and everything, the music, the atmosphere, and I always leave that class feeling so much better.
It makes me feel good.
Yoga's my jazz, and it's no accident that you are not connected. I have the gift. I know who I see people. I know who I'm going to work with, and I said, okay, I need to get with you. I need to get with you. We need to get together, and we can talk. Yoga.
Yes.
And you are open to speaking about the truth of God and the truth of Jesus Christ. Not everybody wants to turn that corner, but I am Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. It is what it is.
And that's how I am.
Unapologetically.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm looking for my family. I'm looking for my tribe.
Yes.
To be able to bring to what we do, what we have been called and anointed to do, so people can connect with us, because he's trying to build his kingdom here. He's going to do it.
He is.
You know, he's going to do it no matter what. So I need them to be able to know how to find you and connect with you, as I have, only by the grace of God. You know, I didn't know I was going to end up looking into you, but here we are.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time and attention. And I
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
you for having me.
All right, put the spotlight on you right quick. Yes, Lord. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, we're going to have that information in the description box so you can find out how to connect with her, get with her. I'm with her every week. Don't let me be by myself with it, okay? And get with her and just have that mind-body connection. It's not evil. It's not horrible. You're not going to hell.
No.
You're going to feel good, okay? In the name of Jesus. So I want to thank you for your time and attention, and I'll be looking forward to our next interview together, and I'm so glad that you'll be joining me with that one as well. Have a blessed rest of your day. Bye.